Hi and welcome to the show. My guest today is from Kisumu, right here in Kenya, but moved to the United States at the age of 9. He found a trumpet in his grandmother's basement and found his calling. He has worked with some of the biggest names in music and toured all over the world. You may recognize him as Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's trumpet player. The program One Vibe appointed him as their global ambassador, and together they engage the youth in performing arts and education, giving young people a chance to achieve their dreams. Owuor Arunga. Welcome to The Scoop.
Thank you, Salim.
My brother, great to have you here. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being on the show. Owuor, from early days in Kisumu, what do you remember of your time growing up in Kenya?
Actually, my first best friend was named Salim.
Really?
Yeah, he gave me my nickname.
Must have been a hell of a guy. Huh?
Yeah, he was cool, man. Still is. He's still alive.
What do you remember of Kisumu? What do you remember of growing up near Lake Victoria and, you know, your folks and those early days?
Very, very authentic place, you know. Super authentic, super earthy. Nobody's posing. Very creative. People were excited about the future. People were excited about the 80s. Music was popping. Like, I remember Salt and Pepper coming out, and my cousin was like, yo, check this out, but you can't tell your parents. And she showed me Push It. Let's talk about sex. And we were like, oh my gosh, we heard the word sex for the first time.
And you were how old at this time? You were like 6 or 7 years old at this time?
Yeah, I was about 6, 7. Yeah.
And tell me about your folks and the rest of the family. What did your dad do, your mom? What was their sort of background?
Yeah, so my father worked with Lake Basin Water Authority. And my mother was a businesswoman. So what she did is she owned a label called Seaweed International. And she produced clothing. So she had about, 15 tailors that would bring the Kikomi. It was a fabric factory, and what they did back then is the cotton industry in Kenya was huge. It was like we had incredible prints, you know, just amazing fabrics that were coming out, and Kikomi had a base in Kisumu. So it was very interesting times, particularly for fashion. We'd do these fashion shows with my mother, and she'd have, like, you know, Embassy would sponsor it, and, you know, like all these
in the days when cigarettes could sponsor
when
things.
they were cool. It was like the cool thing to have Embassy and Smirnoff, and we'd have these huge fashion shows, and that's kind of like my introduction to showbiz, was hanging out with my mom. It was just incredible times, man. You know, just like the photographers, the models, the catwalk, the crowd, everybody sitting down. What's gonna happen? You know, like checking out the collection, and you know, that kind of gave me some insight into show business and also presentation. It
sounds like a really, you know, great childhood growing up. Why the move to the U.S.? What made the family move to the U.S.?
Moving to the U.S. was the whole thing about moving to the U.S. is the allure of the United States, especially when you're a Kenyan kid from Kisumu. I think the U.S. is like the land of milk and honey, you know, that you're going to walk off of the plane and like you're going to get a jetpack and start flying like Superman or something. But, you know, it was that, like the movies, the films, the music videos. I remember watching Thriller, the epic Michael Jackson film, right, short film. And that really did it for me, man. Like I was in love with the United States. I thought I would come here and like it would be blood all over the dance floor, Michael Jackson's all over the place, an army of Michael Jacksons, you know. But
so tell me, getting off the plane the first time. I hope it was summer, really. I hope it was summer when you got there. But getting off the plane, adjusting to this place, and seeing that it wasn't an easy life there. What was your first impressions? You're thinking, man, is this really what I signed up for?
Oh my gosh, I started crying. Salim.
Not tears of joy.
No, man, I was like, where's Michael Jackson? And it was nighttime, right? So I touched down in Seattle, and it's nighttime, and I was seriously disappointed, man. It was the 90s in Seattle, which is like, Seattle's known as for being 20 years behind the Bay Area, or, you know, San Francisco, Oakland, you know, those areas. So we're like 20 years behind that. So it was like America still in the 70s when I touched down in Seattle. And I was like, this is, you know, I didn't sign up for this, But it was great, you know, because my grandparents picked me up. I remember my aunt, Azani, came with my Uncle Rodney, and there was this whole caravan of people who came to pick us up, and it was my mother's side of the family. And, you know, they brought some solace after that. You know, the sun came up. We went to a place called Wild Waves. It's like a water park. After the water park, you know, kind of...
Well, usually in Seattle you can stand outside and be rained on for most of the year as well.
Right,
if
right.
If it's anything, I went to university in Vancouver, so I used to come across to Bellingham and all these other places.
Man.
Vancouver's beautiful, but it rains like hell, and then you kind of wonder.
But the summers, there's nothing better than
summers
Vancouver.
is awesome.
Cascadia, man.
So okay, so you're in the U.S. now.
Yeah.
You start at Garfield High. That was, or you went to elementary school, or you went to Garfield High?
I did
straight.
I did my last 2 years of elementary school, right? So I touched down. My grandparents, you know, were all together. My parents were still in Kenya, and I found this trumpet in my grandmother's basement. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, this is what's up, because I used to watch the Tusker commercial with the guy. He has a hat on. He's playing the trumpet. It's like a silhouette. He's playing Take 5. And I got back to the States. I found this trumpet, I'm scatting through it. I go to school day one, and they offer it as music. They offer music as a class.
Which you never had experience of here.
Yeah,
never
man.
Never done any music before.
I never thought, you know, I was like, yo, that just looks cool. But now I had an opportunity to actually study this instrument. I was like, come on, this is okay. Now we have a deal. So my grandmother signed me up. She just passed away this year, but she's the one who got me started. She's the one who signed me up for classes, encouraged me, got me on the path. My grandfather took me to go get my mouthpieces and get my horn cleaned and my case, and like, she just had a trumpet, but she didn't have anything to put it in. So my first day at school, I brought this trumpet in a bag, in like a shopping bag, and I looked like the weirdest kid.
We're gonna come right back with Owuor Arunga. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Owuor Arunga. Owuor, why were your grandparents at this time, while they encouraged you to play music, did they ever think this was going to be such a huge part of your life? Did they ever say to you, hey, Owuor, okay, music is great for the side, but you know, you need to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, or you need to have a career? Did they ever push you down that side?
Definitely not. I mean, my family's always been very supportive of the arts. And I went to all the best schools for music. So I had a very good musical upbringing. So I studied with a conductor. His name is Robert Nat. He's the most winningest educator in music in the United States. A very well-decorated educator, amazing man. He inspired me to want to do this for the rest of my life. Then after middle school, I went to high school, and in high school I studied with Clarence Acox. Another cat. You see, these cats came from Louisiana. Down south, they had more of a educated black populace. You see what I'm saying? Because we had historically black schools. We had schools like Grambling, Tuskegee, Southern University, you know, schools that were historically black. You know, Booker T. Washington, for instance, found the Tuskegee University. And it was that legacy that in the North, they had to ship these educators in because of what they called affirmative action. So because of affirmative action, they had to fill quotas. So they needed a certain number of black teachers in the school system. So these cats came from the South to educate the kids, because those were where they had to find educated black people, right? So those cats were incredible, man. And in high school, I really delved in. In middle school, I really delved in. I think what I learned the most was dynamics, you know? Like if I'm telling you a story and I start to whisper, it has a different type of impact, you know? And if you crescendo that and you become louder, and you bring it back down, you know, that's how it's what separates the boys from the men, you know? And it's those little fine details, attention to detail, you know? Later on going to college, studying with Bobby Sanabria, and he always said, attention to detail hard work and attention to detail. Bobby Sanabria was somebody who studied with Candido Camero, like the greats when it comes to Afro-Cubano music, and he taught me the ideas of clave counterpoint and how to put together the clave in 3-2 or 2-3 and flip it and reverse it and, you know, up and down. And then I also studied with a cat called Ahmed Abdullah, who taught me about Sun Ra's music and taught me about the last bastion of jazz, the place where no man has ever gone, space, you know? Sun Ra was a man who said he wasn't born, he arrived on planet Earth from Saturn, you know? People who were so audacious, who were so mind-boggling in their mysticism and the way in which they looked at art, you know? This is a guy who studied Madame Blavatsky, studied the Bible from back to front and the Book of the Dead, and could tell you anything about the Emerald Tablet and the Kybalion and all of these different books that, you know, he injected that spirit into the music and took it to a mystical place. He made the first sci-fi film, Space is the Place, about a spaceship that ran on music. And you know, it's a black man who created the first sci-fi. I studied with these guys who reached far back. Reggie Workman, who played with John Coltrane and is on all of John Coltrane's albums as the bass player, was one of my teachers. Also, Chico Hamilton and Chico Freeman. Chico Hamilton, who is a National Endowment for the Arts Fellow, and Jimmy Owens, who's the trumpet player, who's also National Endowment for the Arts Fellow, and incredible musicians, my heroes. Charlie Persip, who did the Eternal Triangle with Dizzy Gillespie. I mean, people who I'd watch these albums, read the backs and be like, yo, oh my God, these are incredible albums. What were they living? What were they doing? And I was able to go to those places and go pay homage and study with these masters. And they took me under their wing, put me in their bands. The first session I ever did was with Ahmed Abdullah, but at the time I was in Charlie Persip's band, Super Sound, so that's where I'd work out.
How old were you around this time?
I was about 19, 20, you know.
So you've done your high school.
Yeah.
But in high school you also met some people that then became big influences in your life and who you played with.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so, but was it like most of us when we were in high school, you know, you wanted to be cool by being in the band, yes, or being a sportsman, right, or something, you know, to get the girls or whatever, braids, you wanted to be different. Was that a little bit was that a bit of an attraction, being you know, the star trumpet player?
You know what, in high school I wasn't as serious about the trumpet. I mean, I was more into girls. High school was like, it was all about the chicks, man. Oh man, I loved them, man. Big ones, small ones, short ones, tall ones, brown ones, light ones, dark ones. It was my thing. My hormones were raging. It was like God just shot me with a pill of hormones, and I was like,
the trumpet was the perfect instrument to go and get these girls.
Yes, I didn't realize
that. But you didn't realize
at the time, you don't realize that. You're more working on your gift of gab. You're more working. You're licking your lips. It's more that it is like any real skill, you know. So that's what happened in high school. I did, like, my early years. I was still into girls. My late years, I was still into girls. I would say my earlier years, I had more aspirations for the trumpet. You know, I really wanted to play. However, as I became older, like into my 4th year in high school, I became more business-minded, more economics-minded. I wanted to figure out how to be a producer, how to own a label, how to intellectual property rights. I was more in that mindset.
So it wasn't about just, you know, going and having fun and music being a fun part of your life. You actually were looking at the business side of it, and this is when you were starting to think of this as a serious career, that
Absolutely.
This was going to be a big part of your life for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And giving that, because a lot of young African artists, hugely talented, but have never had the opportunity to learn the business of music. What's the advice that you would give to young African artists that are coming up? What are the different areas that they should be really focusing on as they learn their craft?
I mean, that's a loaded question. That's a very loaded question. First of all, I would say that you have to give in order to receive. So you have to contribute. If as a person, you're on time, you do your best, You keep your word. You're there. When somebody needs you, you're reliable, and you're indestructible as a resource and an asset to anybody. It doesn't matter if it's the worst band on earth or the greatest band on earth. You treat them all the same. And you have to think outside of a small thing. So when you hit the scene and anybody asks you to do something, whether it's for free or for pay or for whatever it is, for $5, $20, 20,000, $1 million, you treat them all the same, with the same vigor and the same tenacity. You study the music the same. You give your all to everything. I mean,
you're going to be a success.
Yeah, it's easy.
But does success sometimes make you become comfortable, that you don't want to go outside those boundaries? You found a formula that works.
You're right.
You're getting the money is coming in. You know, everything's coming to your way. Why would you want to go and experiment?
Oh man, I mean, over 27 million album sales, 27 million in singles that we've sold. In the millions and millions and millions. You know, I have multiple plaques from New Zealand, Australia, and America, all over, at my mom's house, at my house. Everybody gets a plaque, you know, but the thing is, I did get lazy, and I battled with that. But this year, I remember it being January maybe 2nd, my grandmother got very ill. Her kidneys failed. Yeah, at that moment, like, I started to realize what it is about life that's important. I'm fortunate enough not to be in that condition. I could walk to the bathroom. I could go sit on a toilet and take a poop. I'm winning. So I'm back in the game now. I'm hungry, baby. I get it. And it's not from a point of being hungry, but it's from a point of being appreciative and being
blessed and feeling blessed.
And truly feel like she gave me that gift, you know? She tuned me back up into what life is all about.
Was she proud of you, the grandmother?
Of course, yeah. My grandmother was very proud of me, man. Yeah, she was. And I got to spend every day with her. You know, I would hold her hand through her kidney dialysis, and, you know, I'd just encourage her, you know, just to get through those treatments, you know. And she lived from January to May. I remember she passed in the last week of May. That extra life, that 4 months of extra life that I got to really, you know, feel her spirit, it made me the person I am today. This is why you're seeing me.
We'll be right back with Owuor Arunga. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Owuor Arunga. Owuor, what's it like working with people you went to high school with? You know, friends, friends are friends, and hopefully will remain friends for the rest of your life, but actually working with them, in your case, creating music with them, with Macklemore and others. You met him in high school. Friction, easy, because you know each other so well? Are there times when you kind of can't stand each other and say, hey, listen, man, I've had enough of you?
It's a great experience, man. Incredible experience. Because it's an experiment, you know, for us. We always were enterprising. We always were independent, you know, when it came to the music. Like, we always thought, like, we're going to re-up. We're going to do for ourselves. We're going to build ourselves. We're not looking for anybody to put us on, you feel me? And that experiment worked, you know. Now, being on television and doing the Ellen show and the Jay Leno show and the David Letterman show, a lot of these shows aren't around anymore. You know what I'm saying? The Stephen Colbert, like every show in the world, in Australia and New Zealand and Japan and like around the world.
Now in Kenya even.
Now in Kenya, you know, like the Scoop, but with that experience, coming to Kenya was my last stop. You see what I'm saying? So having that experience just made me really confident about the experiences. Being an artist is a lot about experience. It's like, how much life have you lived, you know? And having lived that life, I feel very, I'm no longer intimidated. You know, I feel comfortable in my own skin.
Would you consider moving back to the continent, whether it's Kenya or any other country on the continent? Would that
Yeah.
be something that you would think about?
I tell you, like a place like Kenya, there's so much opportunity. Everything happening right now is exciting, you know, in the arts, in finance, in the financial sector, in telecom, and across the board, you know. I would like to someday be far more active, and I'm actively engaging that process right now. That's why you see me here. That's why I'm working with projects like Coke Studio. That's where I'm trying to do more shows. I'm working with One Vibe Africa in Manyata, Kisumu. I'm working with a number of projects, and am actively trying to engage my roots and where I come from, because you could only go as far forward as you can go back, you know? So that's the idea.
Tell me about One Vibe. Tell me about what the project is and what it does.
No doubt. So One Vibe is basically, it started as an orphanage in Manyata, started by Simon, a friend of mine, Simon Okelo. His mother had been doing this work in the community where she'd been taking care of children and, you know, just really caring for the children in the community. You know, a lot of these kids go to college, a lot of these kids go to high school, they get their education, you know. While they're there, they're studying, they're in school. She's just like a guardian angel, you know. So One Vibe is one of those projects based in Manyata, in that compound. And what we want to do is we want to provide resources. We want to empower youth. We want to empower them not only musically, but we want to empower them with drama, all the arts, visual arts, dance, videography, cinematography, all of those elements that make the modern, you know, palette of artistry. And we want to give them the tools necessary to get that done. So whether it's instruments, studios, microphones, cameras, lights, whatever it is.
I've also learned, while we were talking off camera, that you love reading or listening to audiobooks, as you said to me.
Much more efficient. And
much easier. But also you love writing.
Yeah.
So what do you write? What you write? Novels, stories, fiction, non-fiction, story of your life, your memoirs?
Yeah. I write very egotistical things. I write very, I try to stay away from writing negative things. I always focus on this concept of, if you think about something hard enough, it will happen. And that's how I write. I write something until it happens, you know?
That was the talent code.
No, the artist's way.
No, sorry, the artist's way. That's right. Julia Cameron's book.
Yeah.
It said write every single day, write something every day. So you took that to heart.
Yeah,
the 12-step process of becoming a writer.
Yeah.
And what have you written anything that's been published? Or is it all for your eyes only at this point?
Yeah, I have maybe like 100 different booklets of just journals. When people find my memoirs, they'll be like, this egotistical, the greatest? What about Miles?
You're still a young man.
Yeah.
You've achieved an enormous amount in your life though already. What's next for you?
There's a lot that's going on. I'm very excited about numerous projects that I'm working on right now. What's next is very great things, very incredible things, amazing things, epic things, very epic. I think epic is the word.
Epic is a good word.
Yeah, epic is the word for what's
like
next, you know. But ultimately, for anything that's next, my mindset has always been like, you know, how do you go into the unknown? Why limit yourself to what you know, you know? For me, what's next is what you don't know, 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 that you don't know, that you don't know, that you don't know a billion times is possible. That's what I want to be next, you know? I want to delve into that mind space where it's like the unknown, literally, like seriously, you know, like be able to do something I never think about, I never thought of, you know?
Well, I look forward to it as eagerly as everybody else, and you. Regrets, if I could give you a clean slate, say, Owuor, do it again from the beginning, what would you change?
Nothing.
Not a single regret?
Man, bro, marriage is crazy, right?
Yes.
But I still don't regret it though, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like divorce was definitely my biggest lesson. It was like my biggest come up. It was like the biggest slap in the face that was so embarrassing that I'm not dead. You know what I'm saying? You go like this. I'm still alive, okay. But it wasn't a regret. But to be honest with you, at the time...
Well, you've got two wonderful children. So.
Yeah, exactly. And at the time, when it's happening, it's like, it's a regret. But then afterwards, when you're at the lowest point of your life, the absolute lowest, you feel worthless, you know, as a man or as a human being, you know, unrequited love is quite a painful pill to swallow.
The show's called The Scoop.
Okay.
Owuor, tell me something about yourself.
I picked my nose. Okay, everybody got it. Okay?
You got to do better than that, man.
Clear nose, no boogers, no boogers. I picked my nose, okay.
And that's the epic scoop with Owuor Arunga.
Thank you, Salim.
Join me again next week when we'll be talking to yet another great African personality. From me and the entire team of The Scoop from Nairobi, Kenya, thanks for watching, my brother. Thanks a million, man. Thank you for sharing.
Indeed.
Thank you for being on the show, man. You've been fantastic. It was really a riveting conversation.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, yeah.